we're here. Thank you so much, Bruce, for taking time in your cosmic mission, your cosmic assignment here on Kauaʻi. And first of all, I just want to acknowledge this island and her spaciousness in allowing us to be here and to learn the lessons we're learning, and acknowledge the moment we had with the honu, with the turtle yesterday, the turtles, and you're wearing your turtle sarong right now.
Yes.
Carrying the spirit forward. And yeah, I feel so grateful that you're right next door right now and that we get to have this conversation today. Thank you so much.
Yeah, well, thank you for inviting me, and it's beautiful to be here on Hawaii. I haven't been here for years, and like maybe the beginning would be to open to that image of being down there in the water yesterday and feeling what it's like to be on these islands that there's just ocean around, and feeling how similar that is to the earth and space. So you and I have a whale connection, you know, like the power of these beings that swim in this medium of the ocean, and yet the earth is swimming in this great medium of the cosmic ocean. You know, that it's just like Hawaii is surrounded by the Pacific, earth is surrounded by cosmos. And the sense that I have of being here and really my whole year is that we're just about to upgrade. So Hawaiians like to surf, and we're just about to graduate into the big wave.
Yeah, can you say more about that? How
Well,
are we
the
about
big
to
wave
upgrade?
being that wave from cosmos is hitting the earth, and so whether it's AI or whether it's disclosure or whatever it is, we all know, we can all feel that there is a big initiation, evolution breaking forth on Earth. And so part of that is its cosmic origin, that Earth is in space, and that space is like a medium of transmission of energy. And that energy is like lifting us. So we're paddling hard, but the big wave's here, and we're about to like learn how to surf this current that's arriving.
That's so interesting that you bring that up, because a big part of why I found your teachings to be so monumental for me was really they helped me with a couple of different things. First of all, my shame around being human and my connection to Earth, and like we share this kindred connection with dolphins and whales, and I likewise felt, you know, like I didn't quite love being a human. And it really, my time at Highden, which is the last place I saw you in New Zealand at your mystery school, was the last time, that really helps me ground more onto this earth, and also my relationship to the dark. And those were my being a human, and then also my awareness of darkness inside me were two things I felt deeply ashamed of, because my upbringing with religion and even identifying as a light worker of some kind. I remember it was on this sail from Tahiti over to Hawaii where I was journaling that I could feel this black hole inside me, and I didn't know how to find any sort of grounding in that. And you've been a teacher for me of understanding the dark from a place of great love. And I think that what you're speaking to in this next wave that we're about to learn how to surf, we do need to have an understanding of both light and darkness, cosmically and within ourselves. So I'd love if you could kind of speak more about the difference between the two.
Sure. Well, often people see the dark as like an opposite of the light, or that it's in a polarity, but the divine dark is the origin of light. It's where light emerges from. And so just as we have recently discovered, relatively recently, that our sun orbits a black hole at the center of cosmos, the sun is like our soul, and our soul has a deeper mystery. At the core of the soul's orbit is the divine dark, which is the mystery. And if you have a civilization that's based on the mystery rather than a solar civilization, then you have to learn how to paddle in the unknown, because the soul, the light, is reason and science and understanding and experts and knowing the way, but the darkness is not knowing, it's the mystery. And so learning to be comfortable with the mystery at the same time as you grow your light and your awareness and your understanding, but knowing that you orbit something deeper, and that something deeper is not something to be feared, it's something to be understood.
And how did you become comfortable? What were your major life experiences or initiations that helped you to become the most comfortable in the mystery?
Well, I think, I mean, it's different now because I feel like one of the major messages that I would have is coming from the generation I came from, which is the boomer generation, and we're all busy like trying to find ourselves, right? But your generation is coming with like a 180-degree difference, particularly those who are like working with consciousness, because we came with like the message of like the American dream in America or all over the Western world, like you can do anything, get your personality together, get a good job, get a mortgage, get on the ladder, like attend to your physical needs, and then maybe eventually one day you'll learn about love and you'll learn about the mysteries and you'll learn about life. And so there was a long journey of searching. Whereas the big wave has flipped everything upside down. So the generation that are here now, surviving is not their main priority. And when you're living in a world that's giving you the software all of the time of like, here's what you're supposed to do because here's what we did, and you're here in a radically different journey, then you can feel like you don't belong. You can feel like, well, where have I come? So the awakening for me was an early adopter of that, of realizing, oh my God, I don't value the things that the world I've come into values. And my job is to try to hold the truth of that amongst a society that is kind of hostile to the soul. And so dolphins and whales and forests and allowed me to feel the deep soul that's in nature, even if it's not in humans, and to somehow develop enough compassion and to travel enough and meet enough other people who were here as part of something different for me to start to become comfortable in letting myself know what I already knew. And I think all initiation is that. It's just allowing yourself to feel safe enough to unfold a deeper dimension of yourself that's always been there, just like the black hole's always been there. It's just that we're discovering it. So yeah, my initiatory paths came from being in nature, going exploring, getting into the old mystery school traditions, and a lot of like inner gnosis, being brave enough to trust myself in the face of not being supported by my environment. And of course that's what I then ended up doing, is helping create spaces where young people don't have to go through that like dissonance, where they can actually unfold what they've come to bring, rather than have to kind of go do the world the way that the world wants you to do it, in the way that isn't working, in the way that's destroying the environment, in the way that's making everyone feel ashamed of being human. Like to somehow be grateful for all of that that's been led us to here, but not to continue the story. So this generation has to change the story fundamentally. And I feel like part of my work is to be an early adopter of that, and then create spaces where that can happen.
Yeah, so as a creator of this mystery school, Highden, what would you describe the curriculum as? For people that don't know what a mystery school might entail, what does that even mean?
Sure. Well, in a way, what a mystery school is, it's a place where the next evolution is road tested. You know, so there were places where there's whatever's going on around is whatever is the mainstream, and then there are places where you're road testing something new technology, new software that if it's successful, emerges into the future. If it's not successful, then it just turns into a failed experiment, because mystery schools are always experiments, right? So, but if it's successful, some of the mutations that happen there then start to translate into the world. And so you see people start to go out and then hold space. And the main thing that you're doing in a mystery school is you are coming out of the mainstream for long enough to have faith in what's inside you, to strengthen your knowing about what your deep purpose is, and have that become so strong that you can go back out into the world and not lose it. So that's the essence of what a mystery school is.
I definitely experienced that there, and it's really taken me years to fully understand what really happened there.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I saw in one of your posts recently you were talking about the shift from the Piscean age into the Aquarian age, and I'm curious, you were speaking a little bit about how that affects the mystery school itself, but does that have a correlation to just overall consciousness and how we're evolving together right now?
Sure. It has a correlation to everything that we do as humans. So in the Piscean age, the center is the sun. So you have a president that's at the center of power. You have a teacher at school who's at the center. So Piscean centralizes consciousness, and then everybody gets to orbit that. And then you have like a United Nations that has a Bill of Rights or whatever, and we try to make those the center. Whereas Aquarian, the black hole is at the center, the mystery is at the center. So you might imagine the stars of the European Union, if they all circled around a black hole, that would be paying attention to the changes that we have discovered in physics that affect everything. So when we discovered that the Earth went around the sun, major change on Earth, Renaissance. Everything got flipped upside down. Now that we've discovered the sun goes around the black hole, that should change everything. And instead of there being one person, one president that we elect that's going to have the policies that's going to make it all okay, one savior like Jesus that's going to come and make it okay, Aquarian says you have to be your own savior. Each person has to find their own soul, and then as souls you come together as groups, and then there is a mystery that dances you as a group that's relational. That's not just one person transmitting the wisdom. The we-ness happens, this amazing quality of mystery that emerges out of the relationships between you, out of the mandala. That's why we use the mandala at Highden. And so Aquarian dynamics are far more we than I.
It might be part of what my fascination behind the whole throuple or polyamorous exploration, and I'm curious, like, is there a deeper meaning behind some of these relational diversifications that we're seeing?
Sure. Well, again, the major centralizing thing in relationship in the Piscean age is the couple, the divine couple, and so they're the center of things. But even in the last mystery schools, which were, like the Arthurian mysteries would have been the height of some of the sixth ray mystery schools, and even they had a triangle. It was like Lancer and Guinevere and Arthur. So there is a movement through thrupling, through triangulation, to begin to understand group. And that's also behind polyamory and many lifestyle choices and relationship choices. People kind of know that the soulmate is not just one person, that you incarnate in soul groups, and you start to meet your soul group, and you have life to do together. So everyone just isn't there in their own little family units. You have group work, and coming together to live your soul purpose with others involves an intimacy far deeper than joining a corporation. It's a dynamic, creative life together. So how do you relate? How do you be intimate with your soul pod? And of course, people are trying and failing in many different ways because we're still learning how to do that. But there's something in there that is Aquarian. That's like, okay, my idea of love and intimacy is having to expand beyond the couple as the center into groups that might include couples and might include many other configurations, that people are starting to like feel safer in the group field than just in one person to fulfill all of your needs.
Yeah, almost like feeling safer within a greater alliance, safer within a mutual devotion to the all or the one. And that starts to feel more grounding than just like these individual contracts that I feel like have
and also
existed in the past.
A deeper definition of love, because everybody knows the passionate beauty of falling in love with someone, but then if it's conditional and has a lot of attachment, well, then its flip side is often everything that we see in relationship breakups. Whereas if you are anchoring in group love and you're anchoring in the quality of support and care for another person as a human, regardless of whether or not they are making love to you or romantically attached to you, but you're caring about them as a deeper level than your personal relationship. And that allows everybody to feel safer because they've been loved, not just for their relational.
Almost like you have an underlying care and concern for the health of the pack versus just the individual.
And that's also the shift from Piscean. It's the same as that care for the pack extends beyond humans to care for the forest, to care for the ocean, to care for the group that's not just human, that we're all part of.
So when you speak about this deeper love, what do you feel are the initiations that we need to go through as humans to shift into an actual embodiment of that?
Well, I feel like one of the first and most important ones is grief. That, I think you probably know that one from that experience of not feeling proud to be human. That we all know what narcissism is, and ego is like the fascination with yourself and putting yourself at the center of things. But humans have done that on the planet. So our species is narcissistic. We care about ourselves more than we care about anything else. And when you really face that, when you face the lack of love which the ego represents, which is the part of the self that's separate from the whole, then the healthy response to that is grief. Because so much is given us, and to separate ourselves off from it and exploit it is a source of deep grief. So one of the first initiations, I think, is not trying to use the mind to be clever, to clever our way out of who we are and what we've done, but to grieve, to genuinely grieve. And then through that grief, then that opens us more to be able to love. So there's heart initiations as well as initiations of mind. Many people are doing the consciousness work of understanding that you are not a separate being, that you are consciousness itself, that you are the universe that's never been separate and is showing up as Nevaeh or Bruce, but you're the one field. But the heart work is still like ahead for humanity. So, and I think we're going to face it as we feel the effects of our actions on the environment, and as we feel the effect of our actions on each other. Ultimately there's a reckoning of the heart, and that's when you decide, okay, am I here to survive or am I here to love? And once you make love the reason for your existence, you're kind of telling the truth about why you came in the first place, and you put love at the center, you can't be the way you were. Even in relationship or in the way you treat the world around you, you can't. So that's like an early initiation to awaken through grief to the love that you are and the decision to be that as your priority.
Yeah, I went, I think, deepest into my portals of grief, especially my environmental grief at Highden. I mean, I took it all the way into grieving the end of the earth and end of humanity. And it's almost until you can fully accept that there's loss at stake, that there's something really to be lost, until you move through that and the potential loss of even, I remember having dreams about my grandmother dying when I was a child, and before my sister passed away, and then after she passed away. And it's until you move through that grief, and then you can actually start to feel a connectedness to it. But we're not necessarily taught that. And I was actually moving to Oahu, I started hosting grief circles because of this exact reason, realizing that as a collective, we're not gathering to practice the art of grieving. And there's a parallel, apparently, in Hawaiian spirituality that holds grief and celebration in the same cup, because they both represent the culmination or the ending of a cycle. So thank you for sharing that about entering into deeper love. And how do you think that would apply directly in relationships necessarily?
Well, I think that relationship is kind of masturbation until you know love. Like that most people are seeking a relationship as a way of like getting something for their ego. They want a pretty girlfriend, or they want someone who like understands them, or someone who can relate to them, but it's about them. And my experience is the initiation of love only comes when you put something outside of you, someone outside of you, as more important than you. So anyone who's had a child from a deep place of then realizing, oh my God, my love is outside of me now. I can never not love this being, and I'm totally willing to sacrifice my life for their life if necessary. So that's the beginning of love. It's not like, what have you done for me lately? Like if you're not fulfilling my needs, well then I'm going to, like, love is a journey of giving the self to something greater, to a field of love that's greater. And only when somebody has like truly done that. So I often say to people in relationship, like, get your heart broken early and deeply and completely, because then you are on the journey. And we have this ridiculous idea that you need to develop your mind, you need to go to university and so on to develop your mind, but you don't need to develop your heart. You can just keep it like Marilyn Monroe and wait until Mr. Right or Mrs. Right comes along, and then everything will be amazing. I mean, we have such a crazy primitive idea of what love is, and we're not taught that love is going to be a journey, and you're going to break your heart on the journey, and you're going to break your heart over and over. And if you continue on the journey of love, you will learn how to love not just another person, which is amazing, but you'll learn how to deeply love the life that you've been given and the life around you, and not just humanity, but the whole world will be part of that matrix of love that you step into.
Yeah, I love how you usually talk about how lovers are built,
Right,
and the process that takes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I also think that that's probably the key for your generation, is that in my generation, even though we talked about love romantically and Hallmark cards, the reality is that most people did not live their life as if love was the most important thing. They, on their deathbed, they realized, oh my God, love was more important than my business and blah, blah, blah. But your generation needs to be like, at the beginning, love's the most important. And it isn't a light, fluffy, pink Hallmark thing. It's the most powerful force in the universe. It's wild. It you have to be so fucking brave to really pick up the manner of being a lover. If you really want to be a lover, that's not an easy path. But it's a path for spiritual warriors of the modern day. It's like to make love your foundation, not your goal. Something that you're coming from, not one day we'll get to when you've got a good job and the right relationship and, you know.
And that can be tough to navigate too. I know you've mentioned in the past, I want to say you were talking about desire as if it can also be a doorway. And how can you start to use desire as more of a compass instead of, like you talk about love being just a masturbation? Like how can you really know the desire is leading you into your true north versus a distraction?
Well, I think you know by trial and error, like you'd be a good scientist, you know, like you might have the idea that my desire for this being is like just cosmos moving through me, but then how does it work out? How does it work out for you, and how does it work out for them? One of the beautiful things about being in community is that you get to see how the romances end up, you know? And so, yeah, repressing desire doesn't work. So owning the powerful life force that's in eros and in sexuality and in longing and is beautiful, but it's not going to run pure for a bit. So you're going to have to trial and error, and you're going to make mistakes. And then if love matters to you, you're going to clean up your mistakes. And then you're going to like continue to become a better being of love in your relationships. So you don't know that whether it's desire or not until you see the fruit.
What do you mean that it won't run pure for a bit?
Like, in other words, when you're first learning to love, and that's mixed with the passions of your emotion and of your sexuality, and you're like the spell that happens when you fall in love, like, it's going to be mixed for a bit. It's going to be, your own desires hooked in with a feeling of love of others. You're not going to run the pure current of love until your heart learns through being hurting others, falling in love, having that love work or not work. You're going to grow, and just a bit like when you go into a spring, it doesn't always run pure at the beginning. But if you keep clearing it and working with it, then the spring becomes more pure. And everyone has a pure spring at the core of their heart. It's really just a question of having to learn how to open that.
What have been the practices for you that have opened your heart?
mainly relationship, mainly the naivety of falling in love, and then feeling the deep challenges. For example, if I love somebody deeply, then I should give them more freedom, more respect. They should be more able to be themselves in the world with my love than without, right? But that's not always the case, because there's parts of me that want to control them and trap them and limit them, and because they're my lover, that's one of the early things that you strike of wow, do I really love this person? Do I really want them to express themselves, or do I only love them because they're an expression of me, or they're a reflection of me or of my love? Or so, yeah, learning to truly love others so that they flower into everything that they can be. That's been the hardest lesson, I think.
Can you speak a little bit more into that? Why has that lesson been so hard? Because
a part of me is jealous and controlling, apart from anything else. That's one thing. I'm a Scorpio, I like to, have some control. But I think it's more that that love itself shows the way. So, and if you're in that prayer where you're okay, show me whatever is not loving in my nature, so that I can clear my spring runs clear. Then instead of going out looking for relationships that are going to make your ego feel better, you kind of know you're getting yourself in trouble, because you're actually asking to grow. You're not asking to stay safe. So if you're deciding that love is the most important thing in your life, then you're basically giving love permission to teach you some lessons. And my experience is every new relationship or every new kind of challenge on the path of love, I take with a deep breath. It's this isn't my fantasy arriving. This is my next lesson. This is the thing that's going to show to me where I'm still arrogant, or where I still have double standards, or where I still I'm narcissistic. So. Love is not arriving to make me feel better. Love's arriving as a teacher.
Yeah, I mean, real love for me, when you talk about how we're dropping into a bigger wave.
Yes.
Dropping into a wave doesn't ever feel less scary for me, and same thing with real love. It is really this balance between love and freedom, and when I'm actually met with that, it can be quite terrifying and confronting for different aspects
and
that arise.
Exhilarating, right?
Exactly.
And exhilarating.
And you keep paddling out and going back.
I know. And in fact, I often say that there are three paths. One is desperation. You make such a screw up that you eventually have to turn and face. 3 relationships all ended the same way. You thought it was all them, but then you realize, oh my God, maybe that's me. So desperation drives you to the path. Love for someone else will drive you to the path, caring more for your child or your partner or someone than you. But then the most sustainable way is the thrill of it. To really get off on your own path of tasting the mystery. Like when you know that you are being deeply guided, and that even if you crash and burn, it's part of the next wave, then the thrill keeps you going. You don't need anything outside of you to drive you, because it's going on the inside. And it's kind of a secret. You know, Rumi says, one kiss and you're ruined forever. That when you taste the thrill of big wave surfing in the kind of spiritual sense, like how to surf the next big wave of your own evolution, like that's enough of a thrill to keep you going and keep you paddling, you know.
I deeply relate.
I know.
I do. I want to kind of pivot topics for a second, because as seekers of my generation, I think we're all looking for what you're talking about, like the way to level up, or the way to transform, or the way to evolve. And I came from a background of trauma-informed healing in the plant medicine space, and then I found myself hitting these walls and really not knowing how to get past that. And that was when I signed up for my first ISTA, and then from there did many of those and lots of other trainings, and then found myself at Highden. But and from there, you know, going out to Africa and doing the Bhuti initiation, I was seeking initiation.
Yeah.
And I would love to hear you share a little bit about the clear differences between those trauma-informed healing containers and then initiatory rites. And I've also heard you speak about the third way. And if you could go into where we're heading in that realm.
Well, I think it's being developed. I mean, there's a big tension in the world between those, and sometimes it's got to do with where somebody is, because if somebody's in a strong awakening, they want risk. They don't want to be safe. They want environments that allow them to push the edges of everything that they are, because they're just about to shed their old crayfish shell, and they know that they can't get there incrementally. They need an initiatory experience. And so those people need initiation spaces. And it doesn't mean that in initiation spaces that you are not taking care of the nervous system and the body mind and all of those things, but it's not your priority. So because a lot of the world is focused on self-love, you know, and self-love often in our modern spiritual materialistic world means making sure you have a massage and making sure your hair's done and making sure you live in Bali and you have good, you know, a life and so on. And that's fine and it's beautiful, but it's not initiatory. Initiation normally comes from the exact opposite of making sure that you everything about you is taken care of. It's pushing your limits. So how do you push your limits and take care of yourself at the same time? And that's the third way. It's like you're not blind to your nervous system. You're not blind to what your body can take and what can't take, what your heart can take and what it can't take. But you are deciding with your own will to push yourself. And I think in the Piscean, we were more looking for someone else to do it for us. Someone to give us a hard initiation so that we had to get taken through. Someone to make us dance the sun dance for 5 days with hooks through our chest. So like we were looking for those extreme experiences. But it's actually much scarier if you know that you give them to yourself when you align your will with growth. So in other words, they're not hard to find. The universe is always wanting to initiate you, but most of us are like busy looking the other way. We're busy like not looking for where we know the initiation comes from. So I think the modern initiatory temples, they give care to the body mind so that you are well resourced, but they help direct your will towards inviting initiatory experience. And then you are pushing yourself by telling the truth that you really want to be stretched. You don't want more of what you already are. You want to grow. And that means that you're inviting the lightning rather than being struck from the outside. And once you know that you can invite as much initiation as you want in your life, and you know that you can, then you begin to like regulate the dial, like how much do I need? And instead of having to have, you know, like a plateau period and then an initiatory period and a plateau period, you just like keep the initiation happening. You just keep dilating the pupil so that there's enough lightning flowing in.
Which would be in itself more Aquarian, just to kind of sustainably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you're in a field of others who are also choosing that, well, you know, like there's always someone being struck at any particular time, so the whole field is maintaining the electric.
True.
And of course, what happens at a mystery school is that because it's not democratic, you can't get together and say, we all think the lightning in the middle should be like stopped because we're all being fried. You can't, it's not like the lightning's not going to do that. It's just going to run. But what you can do is you can choose how close you are to the fire. And so I think the initiatory energy has almost been outlawed by our materialistic society that wants everything to be safe and no one to be emotionally ruffled, no one to be tested, everything, no one to die, everything to be safe. Okay, that's survival first. And if survival is at the expense of love, then love will find a way to break that. But if it's love first, then you balance survival and care for your body mind with the radicalness of spirit and knowing who you are. And that's the third way that's coming.
And for those of us that are new in exploring the initiatory path, which can lead you into a lot of precarious situations, you know, where you're trusting power dynamics or you're putting yourself in, we want to be tested, we want to be thrown into the fire, we want to be scared. And at the same time, if one were to look for spiritual leaders in a healthy sense, healthy embodied spiritual leaders in the initiatory spaces, what would those qualities be that they're embodying?
Yeah, well, it's tricky because on the one hand, you have the age of the guru is over and everyone's got to follow their own way, but that's fine if you have gnosis, if you know your own way, where it's important to have teachers, people who know their way and can support you to find your way. So that would be the first thing, that any teacher or guide is not trying to take your power and tell you the way. They're a model of someone who knows their own way and wants you to find yours. Okay, so then you're not giving your devotion to a person or to a teaching, or you're giving a devotion to some part of your own self that person is modeling or expressing. So that's the first thing, is that do they want your power or do they want you to be powerful? And then the second thing is to realize that you're responsible for what you orbit. So in cosmology, if whatever you orbit is about to come to life inside you. So if you're orbiting a sun as a planet, you're a sun in waiting. If you're orbiting a black hole, then a star at a certain size is going to become a black hole. So whatever you are attracted to, trust your attraction, but know that what you're orbiting is about to come to life inside you. So then you're also responsible for claiming back your power and not giving too much to some outer authority about what your path is. So on the one hand, it's very vulnerable to trust somebody else to guide you. And on the other hand, you need to also not give too much of your power to that person. So both people have a responsibility in a kind of teaching space. You have the person who's like leading and guiding, and you have the people that are giving them a mandate of trust to do that. So if people come into those spaces with more of a sense of their own power, and if leaders and teachers have more of a sense of the effect of the power differential on others, then we get safer spaces. So it's not all about the leaders, it's also about why you would go to someone and try to learn, like, what part of you is trying to awaken, and are you responsible for that? So there's an equal responsibility. And what we've had in the past is, you know, times where leaders, I know in my own journey, where I've taken no responsibility, it's like, well, it's everyone's responsibility to do their own journey. And then times where I've taken too much responsibility. So that's trying to work itself out in the world.
So you talked a little bit about this orbiting and knowing what we're orbiting and not. And I'm curious because I don't know much about it still, the whole three-eye atlas topic. Would you be
Right.
open to talking a little bit
Sure,
about
I'd
that?
love that. Yeah.
And how is this relevant to our current orbit?
Well, one of the ways of seeing the layers of the self on an individual are your body, mind, your personality self, and then you're surrounded by your soul, and then that's within your monad or your spirit. And so the outpicturing in cosmology is there's the earth with its electromagnetic field, and then that's within the womb of the sun. So there's a heliosphere, which is the solar sphere, and the earth is contained within it. So even though the sun looks like it rises and sets, we never leave the womb of the sun. We're always within the sun's sphere, and the sun is always within the galaxy. Okay, so one of initiations is being able to locate your identity in these different parts of yourself, that each person has a monad, a soul, and a personality. So what's happening now is we've just had our third interstellar visitor. So between the boundaries of the sun and interstellar space, which is galactic space, there is a field. And humans sent their very first things out the other way. In 2012, Voyager 1 went through the heliosphere into stellar space. And now we've had these comets coming the other way. So what that looks like in your own psyche is that the field, the soul of Earth, the solar field, has been penetrated. And, you know, the result is what I would call this coming of the wave, like the wave of spirit activating our solar field. And you can already see the solar flares that put up, all of the northern and southern lights. Yeah. Like, we look at these things as if they are separate from us, but they're not. Cosmos and psyche are one. When your own northern and southern lights glow, that's when like your soul is like dropping in codes into your crown center and it's lighting up, or you're doing base work and your kundalini is awakening. Like that's your electromagnetic field and your chakras coming alive with soul energy moving through it, or eros moving through it. So planetarily, our planet is undergoing this wave of cosmos energy, and whether you think it's AI or whether you think it's the aliens are landing, the deep truth is that we are part of cosmos, and cosmos is sentient and it's active and it's affecting us, and that effect is going to be global. It's not just like if you and I see a spaceship landing, it's that every human is under pressure to deeply emerge as a soul in their own heart. And for some people that shows up as mental health issues, or like the dissatisfaction in their relationship. For other people, it's like the urge to come out and express creatively. But we kind of imagine that we are all of these separate beings, that we're not part of cosmos, that cosmos isn't moving through us, that cosmic rays aren't passing through our bodies right now and having an effect on us, and we think that we're separate, but we're not. So as these great waves come through, they have huge psychospiritual effects on populations. And I think we're in the middle of a mass initiation for humanity.
And when you say our solar sphere has been penetrated,
yes.
Penetrated by what?
Well, in this case, by this comet, 3i Atlas. But even the idea that a lot of people were interested in, like, is it a mothership? Is it alien?
Yeah,
is it like,
totally.
is this technology coming? Well, yes, it is, because science has divided things into like rocks and spaceships, but that's actually not true. Like Earth is a spaceship. We're on a living, dynamic, fertile being that's spiraling around the black hole. We live on a spaceship. We're aliens. We're already aliens flying through cosmos, right? So any meteor or any planet or whatever is a sentient being in a sentient universe. It doesn't matter whether they have little green men that we like the look of. It's already sentient. So something has come into our sphere and penetrated it from interstellar dimensions, and now is on its way out. That's like, you've had experiences in your life where where a peak experience has happened, maybe on a medicine journey or something, and you know your life is never going to be different.
Yeah.
So 2025 is the middle of a 50-year period of massive change for humanity. And right at the middle of that, Three-Eye Atlas is a beautiful symbol of penetration of our soul by the mystery that has resulted or will result or be part of this great awakening that's happening for humanity.
It's almost as you talk about, void consciousness or non-duality, and when you go into your own abandonment wound, when you become your own initiator, and then you can start activating as much lightning from within that, the penetration becomes innate, almost, of your direct vertical channel to spirit.
Yes.
And we're in that in 2025.
Yes.
So when you described this kind of 50-year cycle that we're in, I thought it was so relevant for you to point out that, I think it was 2011. Could you go over those 4 anchor points?
Yeah, the idea of the 50-year cycle is that it's the particular crisis that humanity is going through, and this crisis from 2001 to 2049, 2050 is a crisis of like flipping. So the civilizational change happens in that time, which means that the civilization that's primarily been based on survival is changed to a civilization that's primarily based on love. And 2025 is the midpoint of that. Halfway in the first cycle was 2012. Of course, that's the end of the Mayan calendar, and a lot of people focused on that. But it was also the time we sent Voyager out beyond the heliosphere. That was way more significant in some way because it marked the end of one aspect of civilization, a solar civilization, and the beginning of a galactic one. And now in 2025, we've had something come back the other way. 2037, so between 2000 and 2025, it's like preparation for emergence, solar emergence. From 2025 to 2050, that's the soul of the world coming out. And what does that look like? It looks like people standing up as the love that they are and anchoring themselves as that and refusing to live a life that does not have that at the center. And if millions of people do that all at once, and it's happening, I mean, it's there. It's just that we don't see it because we're still in mainstream media and politics and everything else. But whole millions of people have given up on that civilization and they're busy emerging the new one. But that hasn't got to the point that the wave is so visible that everybody is folding, But that's 25 years now. And that's not a lot of time. Cosmically speaking, it's a very short amount of time for a massive shift in consciousness.
I feel like that permeates so much more of my life now, where so many of the individuals in my life would literally die if they're not creating art or music or sharing truths with their people. And we've all come to this realization of like, we cannot exist any other way.
Right.
And I so look forward to that. What did you say? It was 2030?
2037 is like the next
party time,
like 2020, 12 time. It's still not going to be easy.
Okay.
It's not easy.
I'm getting all excited
but
here.
You didn't show up for easy, and it certainly wasn't easy for the people who showed up in the 60s or the people who showed up in the Renaissance or in peasant Germany. It's like souls have always shown up and stood for love. It's just that it's now mass, so it's not just one here and there, it's mass. And so that's what's going to change civilization.
Which will be supported by the emergence of AI and technologies.
Totally.
Okay.
We're standing on the edge of like radical change that nobody can really see from here. But from 2050, looking back to here, we'll see it. And of course, everybody always says like, yes, we're right at the point of time that's critical. But we are, I know in my life, I've lived the last 25 years have been preparation for this moment.
Wow.
Of getting to now, because now is where we can stand on the edge of the next initiation globally. And like I say, you don't know in advance because an initiate is the cause of evolution and not the result. We can all look back in hindsight, but when you stand up in your life and you stand for the principles that brought you into incarnation, what you're saying, that it's more important life or death for you to be a creator, to be an expression of love, to open and ground the next thing. It's because you're not just an individual, you are part of the life force of the planet that's making a change. And you'll be able to look back on that and see the result of it. But you can't wait. If you're an early adopter, you can't wait until it's safe, until everyone's doing it. You're doing it because something inside you says, I can't live any other way. And like, that's been the beauty. I've had the great honor of being able to travel the world and see that there are so many of us that we're unstoppable. Like, it's not like we're undercover anymore and the mystery schools are behind the veils and you only can get to them if you know the way. It's almost like the energy's going the other way now. This is our planet. Like, this planet belongs to the human soul. And we just have to claim that in our own lives and by the expression of our own being. And then when enough people do that, then, you know, then we'll see the bigger shifts. But those bigger shifts aren't random. They are the result of the work and the love and the dedication of millions of people.
It's both exciting and daunting to hear you speak about this, and the word that comes to my mind thinking about it that I feel like is my redeeming vibration is creativity.
Right.
That we have the innovation and creativity as a species to meet this next wave.
Yeah.
And like you said, in meeting that portal of grief, for me, I was absolutely immobile to act until I actually met the grief that I faced being on this planet. When you say this is our planet, but there's still a part of my brain that says, oh God, you know, we're not doing such a good job.
I'm not responsible. Sorry, dolphins.
Please don't make me responsible. And at the same time, I really do want to be, and I really do want to believe in the worlds where we can be, and say that as enthusiastically as I hear you saying it, with that sense of optimism. So we have to close this down somewhat soon, wrap it up. But I do have one final question for you, and it's really just, what do you wish people would ask you more of that they don't? What's the one question you wish people would ask you more?
Well, I actually want to go back to where you just were, because it links, you know, which is like, what do I do? You know, what can I do? Because it feels like I'm one person in the world, and one of the things that stops people is that sense of powerlessness. But if they know they are not one person, they're the whole fucking thing. They're the Big Bang. They're the universe. You know, the experience of seeing what's wrong is replaced with being what's missing. So that same experience that you were having is like, I don't know if I want to play this game. I'm human, and look what humans are doing, and I think I'll just like pull back a little and go make my own life
Cry myself
work.
to sleep at night.
But whatever. It's because that grief portal is a doorway to then saying, actually, maybe I'm the solution to what I feel most is missing. Whatever breaks my heart most in the world. So what broke my heart was I wanted a school that actually saw me, saw who I was and helped me. And it was so heartbreaking for me to go to university and feel like I want to learn about love, not about fucking rats.
Word.
You know, like I want to learn about something that I know is inside me. So eventually deciding, okay, well, I will have to be what's missing. And so that's the thing that I wish people would ask me more is like, I want to know what breaks your heart. I want to know what breaks your heart so much that you incarnated to be the solution to that. That you incarnated to be that, and to be that for everyone, for all of us. Like, I feel like the tragedy of the human potential that is hidden behind people waiting for a permission slip to show the fuck up as who they came to be and be it, like, that's a great tragedy. So the most, that question is like, what do I do? Well, the answer is like, take the action of being yourself, whatever the consequences, because you will have no peace until you do that. And that is us doing that for each one of us. Yeah.
Well, I have to really directly acknowledge and thank you for doing that and for creating the school that helped my soul and body ground on this earth. I felt the same way in college I did family psychology and biopsychology and international peace building and poli-sci, empty inside in a way. Not that I didn't learn things, but the deepest essence of what I wanted to be covering was touched at Highden, and I feel so grateful for you and really what you speak about we have to go out into the world and find the others that are doing the things that are really inspiring us to want to be a part of this species. And when we find enough of us, then we're lit up and we're sparked and activated and we're riding and we can go. And you've really been one of those teachers and lightning bolt activators for me. So I'm so grateful to you, Bruce. Thank you so much.
Yeah, and I love that the real temple is the effect that we have on each other. That's part of the Aquarian. You don't know the effect that you have on someone and how vast that ripples out into the world. So like the great satisfaction for me is to know that the torch that I'm carrying has been carried in many hearts, and it's a brighter flame and it's more fitting to the time. And so it does my heart good to know you're out carrying your light in the world.
Thank you. I will do my best. Well, thank you so much for being here, and we'll close out this first and only podcast episode. It might be the only that I've ever recorded. We'll see. The mystery will unfold from here.
Sure. I love being
Bruce.
at the beginning of things.
I appreciate you.